The golden age of television, a time when sitcoms ruled the airwaves and families huddled around the TV with microwaved popcorn. But even in these polished productions, not everything went according to script. Today, we've got the most epic fails, flubs, and funny moments that will make you question how these made it to air. Welcome to classic TV show bloopers that will make you laugh. From hilarious line flubs to total set disasters, get ready to laugh out loud at the most hilarious classic TV show bloopers that will leave you in stitches. Starting off strong with the hilarious classic, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When one show stars Will Smith and Alfonso Ribeiro, you know it's about to become the holy grail of sitcoms. Every episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had some rib-racking outtakes and bloopers. In The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith is supposed to be street savvy, but his decision to convince Uncle Phil to hire an ex-con was anything but. Will convinced Uncle Phil to hire an ex-con as the family's handyman. That backfired, and Will tried to run from Uncle Phil, but Uncle Phil grabbed him by the sweater. However, that didn't happen in one smooth take. Here's one outtake where Will just hands himself over. When Hillary announces that she's going to be photographed by Playboy, Carlton lets loose with a long string of eloquently spoken angry words. But he isn't so smooth in this blooper. In fact, he flubs his lines and completely invents a few new lines. Will Smith was a master of over-the-top reactions, and this blooper proves it. When an old boyfriend of Ashley's returns to town, they get back together and Ashley decides to take the next step with him. Will gets wind of this and goes, not with my cousin you don't. When Ashley catches him and Carlton snooping, Will's reaction is so ridiculous that even the crew couldn't hold back their laughter. Next up is a fan favorite, The Golden Girls. In most of her TV roles, Betty White played a quick-witted, sharp-tongued, no-nonsense character. But even the best actors forget their lines sometimes. In this episode of The Golden Girls, Betty White's character, Rose, is complaining about her unsuccessful job search. But Betty White keeps making line flubs and has to do 4 whole takes to get the line right. And just when we think the line flubs are over, Blanche DuBois, who is played by the beautiful Rue McClanahan, picks up right where Rose left off. Betty White could do no wrong, except when she goes to open the door seconds before her visitor rings the doorbell. Talk about some serious clairvoyance. When B. Arthur corrects Betty's mistake in this scene, her response is absolutely hilarious. Moving on, we've got the hilarious I Love Lucy. What's a classic sitcom without a few flubs from the main character? In this scene, Lucy Ricardo, played by the amazing Lucille Ball, splutters through her lines and breaks into a chuckle. When a couple stays together long enough, I guess they do start to look alike. Or how else do we explain Fred calling Ricky Lucy in this scene? Lucille Ball shows just how much of a comedy genius she is when William Frawley, who plays Fred, almost gets his line wrong, and she throws in a quick-witted ad-lib that saves the scene. In another scene, Desi Arnaz, who plays Lucy's husband, Ricky, laughs so much that he misses his cue to answer the phone, and Lucy saves the day again with another ad-lib. Sometimes the set refuses to cooperate and the crew just has to improvise. At least, I think that's what happened here with the blocks under the table. Next up is The Carol Burnett Show. Tim Conway had one goal when he went off script: to break the unflappable Harvey Korman. And judging by Korman's failed attempts to keep it together, mission accomplished. This elephant tale is one for the books. Soldiers do not normally laugh when receiving a dishonorable discharge, do they? Well, Sergeant Harvey is definitely no ordinary soldier in this scene, as he can't hold back his laughter when Officer Tim tries to discharge him. But if we're being honest, who wouldn't laugh at Tim's hilarious cartoon voice? In this scene, Tim Conway plays an old clockmaker who tells the time with his face, and Harvey Korman can't help laughing at his antics. In this episode, Carol comes up with a prank. She decides to do things differently in the real sketch than they practiced. Korman can't help breaking character, and he falls on the ground laughing with the audience joining in. Here we go, right on to another fan favorite, Three's Company. In this episode titled Money Machine, Jack uses a malfunctioning automatic teller machine and accidentally receives $1,000. He notifies the bank with a plan to return the money on the next Monday. He then goes back home and hides it in the couch. Unfortunately, Mr. Furley, who has no idea of what the couch contains, is soon asked to replace the couch. He promptly trades the couch in for a new one. When the bank comes for their money, the money is nowhere to be found, and Mr. Furley, realizing his mistake, begins to hyperventilate. While this is going on, he tips his head back, and we can see his wig come off slightly from his head. Luckily, Priscilla Barnes, who plays Terry, is standing right behind him and presses the wig right back onto his head without missing a beat. In another scene, Janet Wood, who is played by Joyce DeWitt, and Jack Tripper, played by John Ritter, are pretending to be married to fool Janet's mother. To make their pretend marriage seem real, they get into bed together. But Joyce just cracks up, and the audience laughs right along with her. In this 1982 episode, Terry invited her dentist friend, played by the incredible Jeffrey Tambor, over for dinner. Janet and Jack, however, mistake him for an escaped mental patient. While having a conversation with him, Joyce DeWitt's own ad-libs make her start laughing. When Suzanne Summers, who plays the perfect dumb blonde, Chrissy Snow, completely forgets her line, her co-stars react with a hilarious mock fate. When the cast becomes one big happy family, it may get difficult to remember everyone's TV names. In this episode, Suzanne Summers forgets that her co-star John Ritter has a name on the show and calls Ritter by his full government name instead. Up next is the widely acclaimed sitcom Friends. Ross's fashion choices often led to memorable moments, but when he decides to try something different, his choice in pants takes the cake. Ross chooses a pair of leather pants. Fashion forward? Maybe. Functional? Absolutely not. In those pants, it was Ross versus the law of physics. Ross soon finds himself in an embarrassing situation when he wears his leather pants to Elizabeth's house. He ends up battling with his pants in her bathroom, with David Schwimmer, who plays Ross, even accidentally hitting himself in the face while trying to pull them up. In another scene, Ross is having a heartfelt conversation with the character Rachel Green, played by Jennifer Aniston, and Joey Tribbiani, played by Matt LeBlanc, until he says something completely unexpected and unrelated. In this episode, Chandler, played by Matthew Perry, has a fling with Rachel's boss, Joanna. After a spat, she leaves him handcuffed with his trousers to a filing cabinet in her office. While trying to get free from the cuffs, Chandler pulls a little bit too hard and gets accidentally hit on the head by one of its doors. This was an unscripted moment that the showrunners decided to keep in the final cut of the episode. Jerry disrupts a whole piano recital by placing a Pez dispenser on Elaine's leg. She instantly bursts into uncontrollable laughter and continues to laugh so much that she has to leave the room. Classic Seinfeld mischief. Jerry knew exactly what he was doing. In the show The Office, Brian Baumgartner plays Kevin Malone. Kevin's chili was legendary. His ability to hold on to it? Not so much. In this scene, he proudly carries in his famous chili, only to spill it all over the office floor. A tragic tale indeed.